McCarthy had said that he led us to believe two things. One was that he was the only person from the township present at the March 10th COA meeting. And my question is, at the time he took the vote, was that your impression as well?
No, the council knew I attended the meeting as well.
Okay, they did know that.
Yeah.
And they knew that Ms. Davis was there as well?
The viewers, Diane was the assistant to Mr. McCarthy.
Okay. Then how come when we got that back and forth that I was under the impression that Mr. McCarthy was the only one there and that the council's action was based entirely on his interpretation of events that transpired at that meeting? How come nobody corrected me at that time?
Because nobody could tell what your impression was, Mr. Martin.
No, that's not true. Again, I really not interested in speaking to you. I'd rather just speak to the mayor directly. Thank you.
First of all, Mr. Warren, we would like quite heavily on Mr. McCarthy, and I don't object to him speaking for me. But at this point in time, I don't really remember that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me. A reference that really was truly a question, or was it a point that we might have implied that we rely quite heavily on our professionals for guidance? I think that I remember saying, but I don't really remember truly who was there, who was not there. So that's my recollection.
Okay, so you even had an exchange with Mr. Cannon where he asked about finding Mr. McCarthy a liar. I mean, it was a rather lengthy exchange, and it was all that I was impressed that he was the only one at the meeting. The other thing is that Mr. McCarthy reported that he had essentially been threatened by Ms. Griefa of the COA, and he specifically said that if we did not approve the ordinance that night, that 2 days later, at the April 21st meeting, that we were at risk of losing our COA certification. So I contacted COA. We were never on the April 21st agenda. RCM had withdrawn the petition. It's true we could have been at risk of losing our certification at some future date, but there was no possibility of us losing our COA certification on April 21st. My question to you is, at that April 19th meeting, were you under the impression that we were going to lose our certification 2 days later if we did not approve that ordinance?
Now, Mr. Warren, I know you don't want to hear from me, but unfortunately all of your factual underpinnings are false. They're not correct.
Really? We were on the agenda April 21st?
They're not correct, sir. We were not on the agenda because the developers conditionally withdrew their order to show cause. The only reason why there was no action that was going to be taken at COA because the developers intended for that to occur at the April 21st meeting, and in fact COA staff, and it was clear to us from being at the COA proceeding that they were going to deal with the order to show cause issue at the April 21st meeting. The action of the developer in response to the agreement that we would go through and introduce and potentially pass the ordinance was the reason why it was off the agenda, that's all.
You informed us we did not pass that ordinance. April 21st, 2 days later, we would lose our certification. My question to the mayor is if that was his understanding.
Yes.
Thank you. My next question is, Mr. McCarthy had also expressed that Ms. Griefa had threatened us with taking away our closed
That's actually false. I never said that, and that's...
I believe the statement that was in all the papers was that she put a gun to our head. That's what was quoted in the papers.
I didn't say Ms. Griefa put a gun to anyone's head. I said that COA had indicated to us, and as a result, that was the functional equivalent of putting a gun to the township's head. That's absolutely correct. But I did not say that the commissioner...
Ms. Griefa in the eyes and was argued on our behalf that she threatened.
No, I never said she threatened. No,
okay. Sorry, let's check the transcript. That's fine. All right, well, just for the record, I'll let you know that I spoke with Maria Connolly, the co-planner, who was at that March 10th meeting. I also spoke with Melissa Orson, Ms. Grifa's chief of staff. They both told me that Ms. Grifa could never threaten, she could never threaten. She's only one of 7 votes, that the petition had been withdrawn, that there was no possibility of losing code certification at the April 21st meeting. So they both indicated, however, that Aberdeen has a terrible track record with COA, and they were very upset that the township had acted in bad faith with, the memorandum of understanding, essentially signing the memorandum of understanding, and then 2 months later withdrawing from it. Now, my next question is that memorandum of understanding. At what point did the council vote to approve that memorandum of understanding?
I don't recall the exact time frame, sir. That was
voted at a public meeting?
It was presented to the council in the context of the settlement of litigation, and the council, it was not voted on in executive session. The sense of the council as to the resolution of the issues raised in the COA mediation was obtained, and the township planner, the township council proceeded accordingly in terms of the mediation.
So a town council, one, isn't required to vote on a memorandum of understanding, and two, it's not required to offer the citizens an opportunity to comment on a memorandum of understanding regarding a development of 200 units in the township. Is that correct?
No, that's actually not correct. The COA plan is a public document that was published and was...
I'm talking about specifically the memorandum of understanding.
I understand that, sir. I'm answering your question. The COA plan is a public document. It's on file in the clerk's office here. It's on file at COA. The proceedings were open proceedings and open to the public. The memorandum of understanding simply memorialized certain public actions that will be taken, including the introduction and passage of the ordinance. That's all.
It's a little more than that. The memorandum of the understanding is the whole reason that we were at risk of losing our certification when we withdrew from it. So it's a little more than just memorializing prior understanding. It set in motion a chain of events that ultimately led to the ordinance rezoning areas for the construction of 200 units. And what we're saying now is that the community was not entitled to be aware of that, nor was the council required to vote on signing that memorandum. And I'm just surprised. The other question I have is, my understanding is that an ordinance requires 2 readings. Is that correct? Requires a first reading and a second reading before becoming passed into law?
That's correct.
The first reading of Ordinance 11-2010, the ordinance that set the inclusionary housing zone. I believe the first reading for that was on April 6th. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay. Ordinance number 6 was on April 6th. Ordinance number 7, or number 8, number 9, number 10. Is it fair to say the ordinances go in sequence?
Yes.
All right. They were all read on April 6th. There's no agenda that mentions a first reading of Ordinance 11. Could you explain to me why it would never be on any agenda? I believe that under the Sunshine Laws, under the Open Public Meetings Act, to the extent known, all items need to be on the published agenda. Why wouldn't that be on the published agenda?
It was a late start, which is permitted under the...
So you're saying so it was a surprise. We had no idea. We were talking about, we passed this ordinance in response to a March 10th meeting in COA. So March 10th to April 6th, nobody knew that this was going to happen. It was a surprise that day, I guess. that correct?
It was as a result of, and I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was probably within 24 hours of the April 6th meeting that we had a meeting with the developer and their council and tried to get a resolution of the issues. And that's why it was introduced.
Okay. Obviously, we're talking about a number of events that transpired, and everything seems a little shady. Moving on, I have a couple